excused. But then not to go to the extreme and say this money is not needed. Because really running a counterinsurgency operation requires a lot of funding, especially given the fact that this is the first time that our military is actually tackling a homegrown counterinsurgency.
Group Captain, before we go into the main issue that we're here to discuss, which is the war on insurgency as a whole, we know that very, very recently, in the last few days, Bayelsa State Governor, who happens to be a PDP governor, Seriake Dixon, came out and told his members of his party, as well as Nigerians, that we can't afford to politicize the release of this money and that the military does need to be armed. Now, you are a retired group captain in the Air Force, and based on that, I want to ask you, when we look at $1 billion, some people have said that is a massive amount of money. How can we possibly even spend that money? Now, you have a very, very precise knowledge of what some of these equipments would require in terms of funding, particularly in the Air Force. Can you give Nigerians a sense of what may be involved when you talk about purchasing attack helicopters, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, thank you very much. Certainly, 1 billion naira is not housekeeping money. It is a substantial amount of money. But you have to look at what is it going to be used for. You talk specifically maybe of, generally, military equipments are very expensive. For example, we are just talking now of getting the Tucano aircraft from the US. The 12 pieces that are coming are going to cost us about $600 million.
$600 million?
$600 million. So you are talking about $50 million each. Now, talking of aircraft, when you talk of aircraft and you say unit cost, you are not factoring in fueling, you are not factoring in spare parts, you are not factoring structures that you have to set up. Ideally, any military that comes into any aircraft that comes into a military, it has to have its own maintenance line. So you have to open Tucano maintenance line wherever the aircrafts are going to be based. You have to train both the air crew and the technicians. There are, again, for aircraft, for all, even including civil aircrafts, there is what we call time-changed items. There are certain items that by virtue of time, whether you flew the aircraft or you don't fly the aircraft, you have to change them. This takes money. There is a certain level of maintenance which you can do at home using your own trained technicians. But there are certain level of maintenance after certain hours of flown that you have to do a depot maintenance. Most suppliers of aircraft will insist that you do depot maintenance in their place, which is going to cost you dollars, or even not in their place with an accredited dealer who is supposed to, to service those aircraft after a certain hours. So these are some of the hidden costs. So apart from the unit cost, there are a lot of logistical, engineering, and administrative things that are added to the aircraft. And again, it's just like saying a Mercedes-Benz. If you have a Mercedes-Benz, I have a Mercedes-Benz. It depends what are the add-ons. Your own might have electric glasses. It might have anti-heating device. So again, most countries, because most of this equipment, they are made for the Western world. You want to bring them to Nigeria, you might require the manufacturer to put in some tropicalized features for your aircraft. This is another added money.
Now, based on your experience and in your estimation, before we go to Lagos, where Gimba is standing by, you believe that this $1 billion, based on just the Air Force alone, by the time you spread it across all these services, you believe that it may not potentially even be enough? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, I am not saying it's not enough, but again, at the same time, it is not too high, because this is an extra budgetary spending. We have to look at the fact that there are also budgetary allocations made. This is just an extraordinary situation requiring extraordinary measures. I think that is why the governor decided to weigh in. And it is not only in Nigeria that this is done. I had the defense spokesman saying, yes, it is a practice for all countries that are engaged in war to do extra budgetary spending. Almost all the history of US-American wars, they coincide with raising in taxes. Americans are taxed to pay for wars. In the Philippines, where they have had an insurgency similar to ours, local governments were taxed to make contributions to the war effort. So it's really nothing, because when you say military budget normally during peacetime, this is only for maintenance, for routine exercises.
High recurrent.
But then when you have a war situation or an emergency, this means that the normal budgetary allocation may not be necessary. And governments all over the world, either through borrowing or through taxation, or in fact, some countries, they introduce stamps, war stamps, to be sold in additional. You want to post a letter, you have to pay a token fee, and it is this money that is collected and to finance the war.
Group Captain, at this point, I'm going to bring in my colleague Gimba from Lagos. Gimba?
Captain, very interesting conversation you're having there, but Nigerians are really concerned because a lot of people want this, if not all of the country wants this insurgency chapter in the country to end. But what will it take to end the insurgency and even winning the war and winning the battle? Will it take more than $1 billion to do that?
Sorry, please, I'm not getting you.
Can you hear me now?
Hello, Gimba.
Can you hear me now? I'm just asking you the question that despite the $1 billion that we're looking at, what will it take to win this war and even the battle itself? Because winning the war on one hand...
One moment. We're going to... Gimba, one moment, please.